Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, good. Okay. I
Can't
have,
complain.
you keep praying?
No, I said I can't complain.
Oh, okay. Well, keep praying too.
Yeah, definitely.
I have, unfortunately, a little bit of a disclaimer. I had a leak, my ceiling. This is an ongoing issue. And so when the contractor said I can come out right now, I let him come on. So he's already here, but hopefully we will not be disturbed. I'm in my office. But I just want to let you know. Um,
Okay, no
I'm
problem.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Water is, as you know, difficult to manage, as you know. Um, so welcome to our first IS session for our summer intensive unit. What would you like to do today?
Um, I guess I want to know a little bit more about the level 2 project. I've already kind of got started, but I want to make sure I'm headed in the right direction and everything.
Okay. You want to talk about what you got started with?
Okay, so I'm gonna gather my leaders of my church and have them come together on June the 28th. And I was thinking about doing that book, Moving from Shame to Self-Worth you told me about. I was reading a little bit of
Yes.
that. I haven't read it all yet, but I wanted to do the Jesus birth narrative and have them like each, we're gonna have it broke down where everybody can read some, and I'm not sure where to go from that point, but I wanted to do that because there's a lot of people going through a lot of childhood trauma and things that happened in their childhood, um, dealing with self-esteem issues and stuff like that. So I thought that might be helpful, if they heard the birth narrative and, try, and I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking it through.
Right. That sounds like a great project.
You think so?
Yeah. What are you gonna do after that? Well, how long is that session and what are you gonna do after that session?
The session is going to be like 2 hours, and then they're going to have lunch. And I was hoping like kind of to get them in groups to discuss, get them, because it's only going to be about maybe 16 people, maybe break them off into, we got a pretty good size where they can break off and go into different areas and talk. So maybe get
Right.
two, two, 2 or 3 people together and let them go off and, talk about how they feel. Um, was it impactful for them? Is it helpful? Give them some questions to answer, you know, and maybe come back together for, a little bit and follow up. And plus do kind of a survey and see, you know, what it meant to them. Did it mean anything? Was it helpful or not helpful? So
Okay.
that's as far as I've gone. I really don't have a whole lot more.
That's excellent. So you're gonna have the session and the goal is, it sounds like you're saying, to give an opportunity for them to explore the birth narrative of Jesus in this theme of moving from shame to,
Um, yeah, well, because what I was reading anyway, that Jesus never had any shame about. I mean, he might have had some in childhood, and his mom told him the story, but I mean, he always claimed who he was. He was always self-aware of who he was, and he spoke that in different areas of the Bible, you know.
you think
And
always?
not no no not. I'm not saying it was always, but I'm just saying, um, he was able to what it was. I think it said self differentiate. He was able
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
So, it would give them hope that just because your past does not define you. You have to claim who you are yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let you know. And some of them have been sexual abuse in childhood, and their sisters and cousins and different things. It's a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
um, they claim that
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be able to know that that's not who you are. What
Mm.
happened to you is not who you are. I
Okay.
mean, because I felt the same way when it happened to me. That's who I was. And I lived with that shame and guilt and filth for a long time until I was able to reframe the story in my head, you know.
Hmm. So it sounds
Um,
like you're wanting to create an opportunity for them to begin to reframe their stories. I
mhm.
forgot what you
All of
said.
them.
You said moving from shame to what? What?
Well, this book says self-worth. This
Self-worth.
book.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what it was.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I
So that I
apologize. I'm
couldn't
sorry.
remember. No, I couldn't remember. So that's
You
in part.
recommended it.
I
Yeah.
remember it. Yeah. I'm using it now, as a matter of fact, as a
Okay.
part of my competencies. So part of what you're doing is in giving them an opportunity. Sounds like what part of what you want to do is give them an opportunity to potentially embrace more of their self-worth. I think it's powerful that they claim that part of their history. Um, and trauma-informed care would have a lot to offer in terms of your preparation and how you process the information and what
Right.
you're prepared for at the event.
Right. Because I've been using I don't have it. What did I do with my book? Oh, here we go. I've been using this from trauma to transformation in Bible study, and Lord help me, it has definitely released some things in people and they've never talked about in their life. And I've been getting so many calls. So um, you got to be prepared for, you know, what comes bubbles up for them, and you know the emotions and all that stuff because it's been a lot for them and it's been a lot for me to handle. But
Wow.
I think it was needed because they they were really kind of at each other's throat. Not but I think it wasn't necessarily um the other person. Is just stuff that they have dealt with in their life and it's just been stuffed down. So um I don't know.
That
I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but I'm just trying to help the best way I can.
I think it's an awesome project. And I think as I'm hearing you outline it and beginning to work through it, it's right on target. Do revisit, which I know you're going to as you're developing it, you know, the outline of the assignment itself. But yeah, that's a great project. I would encourage you to look at, I think I sent you, yeah, I did, the PowerPoint where I think it was the mental health piece. There's some theory there on trauma-informed group facilitation. It's like in the early slides, and I sort of lay out, like for one of them, like 6 things I think to keep in mind when you know you're going to be dealing with some difficult issues with a group. And I
Right.
think, that might be a helpful resource for you. I love the survey, that you give them a chance to not only answer your questions, but then just give you some general feedback. That's a great idea. I would encourage you to have those numbers available, the 1-800 numbers.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
And I have some therapist numbers as well.
yeah.
Um, I have that, and I'll have that all. I'm gonna try to have it all. I'm kind of got a lot going on, so I'm trying to get it together because 28th will be here before you know it. So,
It sure
um,
will. It's really
yeah,
quick.
yeah. What I've been working on it. They already agreed to come. I already got the order for the lunch ready, and I got all that done. I just got to make sure I'm clear on my information, what they're gonna read, what I'm gonna offer to them, information and stuff, to help them.
Right. That's
Um,
awesome. I think that's a great project. And then you have plenty of time after to write it up and do everything that you need to do. And it looks like you might have a workshop that you'll be able to repeat.
yeah, that would be great to be able, and it stemmed from my project I was telling you about from my Rion project, the CLE. It kind of stemmed from that. So, you know, I'll be able to, kind of use that in my paper when I write my papers as well.
That's great. I love the multi-purpose of it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right on target. That's
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
just want to make sure. I was like, I just got, I can't wait till the last minute. I got to do things like kind of ahead because I got a lot going on. So I wanted to
right.
make sure it was
Excellent.
okay. Okay.
Excellent.
And so then anything else you can, like resources that I can have to give them that you might know of that I can, have them.
Right. I shared the national resources I know. I don't know any resources for your geographical location.
Yeah.
So, but that suicide number is a national number, and NAMI, NAMI, which is on those slides, is a national resource. And if you go on that resource, it will
Mm-hmm.
take you to your, there's a way for you to go to your state, probably
Mm-hmm.
in your county, and get a
Okay.
ton of additional resources.
Well, I got a friend, I don't think about this. We don't have a lot any black therapists here, but I have a friend. He has a he's a therapist, and he has a he has all these therapists under him, and he lives in this county, and
Oh,
I could get him to maybe I don't know. I was thinking about getting him come maybe speak or one of the therapists come speak for maybe a few minutes or something. I'm not sure. I don't
yeah.
maybe I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that's
maybe
that. You only got 2 hours and you got a
yeah.
lot you're already doing.
So maybe a follow up or something, maybe that they can come and speak with him or something. Maybe a
I
follow
think
up.
I think that's probably better
A
because
follow up.
if it misses, they're like, what's she saying? We all need therapists. And
Okay, yeah,
the potential cultural gaps may have you having to do all that repair and take away from your time to actually do the workshop and not be rushed.
okay,
So that's my 2 cents. I think what
yeah,
you have is enough.
okay,
They
okay,
need space to be able to talk and
yeah. That's
process.
the big thing because I want them to be able to go um and it's two different churches, so they don't have to talk to the people in their own church if they don't want to. They can talk to somebody. I want to be able to pair them with somebody from the other church because they don't really know each other that well.
Right.
And they can have some kind of privacy and talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. You know,
I do think, I don't know if you have any clergy colleagues, but I do think it may be helpful for him to be present after so that it's a resource they can actually see if somebody is in such a crisis point because of what's come up. If he's able to
hmm
come by at lunch and he's available should they need it, and if they don't need it, that's fine. But it also
right,
demonstrates one of those principles in that theory of trauma-informed care and how intentional you're being in getting them support. It also affirms your self-differentiation. You're functioning in a pastoral care role, not a therapist role.
right.
So if he were able to come by after, just be introduced, uh, you know, maybe then say a minute who he is or whatever.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
doing lunch, come by and maybe he can have the cards of all the people in his office because he's got a pretty good, and they're like local. They're just like right
yeah.
here.
I think
Yeah.
that would be excellent
Okay.
because that says,
Okay.
hey, you're thinking ahead about whatever additional support people might need beyond you. Otherwise, it's all going to fall on you,
Right.
and
Right.
that's not
Okay.
what you want. Yeah.
No, no, because I know my limitations, and plus I don't want to leave anybody, going away feeling really bad.
That's
I
right.
don't, I don't, I don't want that.
I think that's critical, and I think that's why it's so critical that you have a 1-800 number at a minimum.
Right.
So
I'll
they,
have all those resources.
yeah. So if at 10 o'clock at night, they're like, man, I can't get this off my mind. I need to talk to somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
this is excellent. The great, excellent project. I look forward to hearing how it all comes out. And if you want to continue to process on it as you develop it, that'll be great.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Sounds
Okay.
good. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the other thing was, I guess the group itself and how I felt last week. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm dealing with another group that I'm not doing well with. I feel kind of like I'm not in the group. I'm there, but I'm not a part of the group. They're really connected, but I don't feel like I'm connected. And I kind of sensed that when we all got together 2 years ago and they were out taking pictures and stuff and they're leaving me out of the pictures. And one guy was like, wait, we got to take more pictures so Lisa can get in them. And I'm like, y'all don't want me in here. But anyway, it's okay. I've learned to move around that. But um I don't know. And it's a bunch of men as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like the dynamics of Alfredo and Victor, they're very, I'm sure they're very close because they've been in 3 units together, right? But when he was like, well, I have to agree with Alfredo, with what he said, Lisa, um, aren't we supposed to like give feedback or whatever? Because it made me feel like, you shouldn't give any feedback, you know, just, I don't know. It just kind of felt like a weird triangle, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Say more about that. It felt like a weird triangle.
Like he was defending what Alfredo said he said to the people. Remember, Alfredo had a scenario or whatever that he said
Mm-hmm.
to the people, and he asked us for feedback. He asked.
Yes,
We
he
didn't
did.
ask him to bring it out. He asked us. And so we were given the feedback and he didn't answer my question. And you said, Lisa, did he answer your question? And usually I'll say, yeah, whatever, because I don't care. But I was like, got to get better at speaking my truth and saying, no, my question wasn't answered, right? So I said that. And he still seemed to skirt around it a little bit. But and then Victor was like saying his bit, and then he was like, Lisa, I have to agree with Alfredo. What he said, what he did was right. And I'm like, I don't know. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to be in this thing where if I say stuff, then they're gonna come back like, well, you're wrong and we're right, and you shouldn't have said that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not the kind of group that's gonna help me if we're not gonna have honest feedback, you know. So I don't know.
So
Uh,
I do want to invite you to say more about the triangle. I also want to affirm your question. And then
mhm.
when invited to say, was it answered? You're saying no, was it answered? And I want to affirm your realization that it probably wasn't, I'm imagining you had some sense it wasn't answered because he wasn't able to answer.
Right.
Yeah, and you picked up on that. So I want to affirm all that. It was a great question. It was great. No, you didn't answer it. And then a realization, oh, this is not, you're not able, for lack of a better word. So all that I thought was excellent. Being a positive and helpful, affirming, and yet challenging colleague. Because it was a good question, a challenging question. You pressed it a little and then you were like, okay. Um, it's pretty authentic for Victor to say, I agree with Alfredo. Of course, there's another way to phrase that. Could say, Lisa, I disagree with you. And I agree with
Well,
Alfredo.
but well, that's basically what it was.
That's very helpful. Say more because he said, the awkward part was he called you by name, Lisa. I agree with Alfredo, which is what he said. But I hear you and you hear you experienced it as Lisa, I don't
Well,
agree with you. Which
that's
was,
right.
I hear you. Yeah. But do you hear the difference?
I hear the difference, but to me, it still means the same thing.
Well, you hear the difference. I appreciate that. And the meaning is the same thing. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. One is your interpretation, which I happen to agree with. The other is the reality of what was actually said.
Let's say that again. What was my
Your
interpretation?
interpretation was by him saying, Lisa, I agree with Alfredo. He was in essence saying, Lisa, I don't agree with you. And go ahead.
it's not that I wanted him to agree with me. All he had, I mean, I didn't want him. I mean, the only thing he could have said is like said his part and moved on. Don't bring me into it. Don't say my name or anything like because that make because I'll shut down and I won't say anything. I'll just like agree with everything, like whatever. Yeah, you did good. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, what you said was great. Because I'll just move through this summer and not say a whole lot. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So that's the difference. If you're responding to your interpretation. The words were, Lisa, I agree with Alfredo. Okay, that's nice. You agree with Alfredo. But your interpretation of that statement was, Lisa, I don't agree with you. Well, that's direct. It was already direct enough to call your name. And then when you interpret his words the way you did, that's what it comes out. Oh, you're saying I'm wrong. You disagree with me. That's a whole, and he didn't say all that. That interpretation may be valid, but that's just not what was said. And I'm just encouraging you to consider you're reacting to your interpretation. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's what you're reacting to. And observe that your reaction is to withdraw and disconnect.
Yeah, I'll disconnect now. I'm just like whatever. I'm just like
Can you say
if I
more
have to say something
about,
because, huh?
can you say more about why your response is to withdraw and disconnect?
Um, because if people don't value my what I have to say, or if I'm, I mean, I'll just fade into the background. At least you're not saying much. I'm just listening. I'm just listening. So, you know, it's very easy for me to do because I'm in those kind of groups, and I don't feel like what I have to say is valued. Um, and I know it's stemming from things from childhood, not being heard and not being seen, blah blah blah. But yeah,
And so your response is to withdraw yourself. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know.
Your words matter. Your insight mattered. Your question was a great question. Your articulating, no, it wasn't answered was great. You're realizing, okay, he's not able to answer this. All of that was very helpful and important and significant feedback for your colleague. The dynamic that unfolded between you and Victor, you labeled, hey, I felt a little triangle going on here. Let's unpack that triangle. Who was the victim in the triangle that you felt in that moment?
um, Alfredo,
Who was the rescuer?
Victor,
And what did that end up making you?
scapegoat.
Persecutor. By,
I don't
by
know.
the, by the way he did it, it made you the persecutor. I
Oh, okay.
agree with Lisa. Lisa's wrong telling Alfredo he didn't do well, which is not what you said. I'm just
Yeah.
exaggerating to fit the role. So that's what it made you. And clearly you do not like being in the persecutor role. And that was clear. So one reaction is to withdraw. I'm gonna pack up my toys and I'm going home. You're not gonna rope me in another triangle. Is there any other reaction when you are placed in a role that is not the role you have identified for yourself that was put on you? What role were you in? What role were you in the triangle or in the response to Alfredo initially? What role were you in?
I don't know.
You were an encouraging colleague. You were in a coaching space. You raised a critical question for his growth. That's what you did.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to
Well,
be. I mean, because I don't want somebody to no, you're wrong. And I have a feeling that's going to be the theme with those two. you know, because they're men and they're men in power who are used to having their way, it seems from what they say.
What
So
choices do you have other than, in addition to, because withdrawing is a choice. So one of your choices is to withdraw. Are there any other choices you see?
well, I started to actually just withdraw from this program.
Okay, so withdraw from the program, withdraw from the group, um, be still present, but withdraw, as you said. But you're gonna co-sign everything. Yep, yep, that was good. Any other choices do you have?
Um, I guess to figure out what made me react that way, you
Oh,
know. Um, and it was kind of a tough day anyway, but yeah. And there's some other things I probably shouldn't say because I don't want you to judge me harshly. But I have a I have an issue with men who cry, and that kind of I can't get past that, and I can't I can't deal with men who cry. I don't like it, and I'm not saying it's not healthy for them to do it, but mm, I check out immediately. I
mm.
don't know, and it's not. I mean, it's not nothing against them. They should be able to, you know. It's I'm I don't know, but them too, and they cried the first session. I'm like, I don't know. And my therapist, I've been to therapy for it, and they're like, "Oh, you're wrong. You shouldn't say that." My husband cries. Both my therapists said that, and I'm like, you're not helping me, by telling me that. I know men cry. I'm just trying to figure out why that is an issue for me. But I never did get to the core of what it was because they kind of shut me down, like I was wrong. So I don't know.
Oh, that's kind of similar, huh? Victor shut you down. You're wrong, even though he didn't say those words. They
Mm.
shut you down. You're wrong to think that. Okay. Well, I'm here to say I don't have a shutdown button nor a declaration. You're wrong. I don't have those options. They're, I don't think those are really very helpful.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So I do think this can be, uh, and even group can be at some point a safe space to explore, what happens for me when men cry. May be helpful to do it when they not no man around you crying, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. That have to be it. Now,
but
now, yesterday, I want to say this now. I got a exterminator guy who comes and he was here yesterday and I was trying to work in here and he came in talking and he talked and talked. He talked from every room and a- and I sensed he needed some prayer. And he came over and I asked him did he want prayer and he put his arms around me, which made me a little uncomfortable, but um he did and I prayed for him and he started crying, but that didn't affect me in any kind of way that I knew he was crying because he felt something, from the prayer. So that didn't bother me, you know. Um, so I guess it's just different situations. I don't
mhm.
know. So I don't know.
Hmm. What happened for you when he put his arm around you?
Um, I just kind of got a little tense because he's a real tall guy and kind of, some of those emotions from past times came back. Because when men are like really taller than me, it kind of overwhelms me. And if they come real close, it overwhelms me. Um, so it did, but I was able to do what God needed me to do for him, and push past it. And I talked to myself, Lisa, you're safe, you're okay. He's not trying to hurt you know. So
So you determined in that moment you were safe, you were okay, and he was not trying to hurt you. And
no,
it
because
was
he's been
okay.
here plenty of times. So
Would it
yeah.
would it be okay to tell him to let not to remove his arm from around you?
Um, I think that will make the situation more uncomfortable for me and make me feel guilty like I've done something wrong. And I think he's just a really compassionate guy. Just he's real sensitive about things. And anyway, it's probably good if I guess if I didn't already have some kind of relationship, like know him or whatever. Like if it was just a new guy coming in, I'm like, whoa. But I've known, at least the last 2 years he's been coming, so
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I wonder, are there any things in terms of the dynamic in the group and that scenario that connect for you?
What happened? What happened yesterday, you mean?
Yeah, is it what brought that to your mind that happened yesterday as we are talking about what happened in the group?
I guess because he started crying. He didn't cry loud or anything, but the tears were just rolling down his eyes, whatever, face, and he hair went outside. Um, that brought that connection with them because, like I said, the first session, both of them were kind of crying. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, this is my stuff. It's not their stuff. This is my stuff that I don't have to deal with. It's not Victor's stuff. It's not Alfredo's stuff. They're perfectly within their right to cry. It's just me. It's something I need to deal with and get help with.
I acknowledge that. And as you are identifying the choices you have in the education environment, it is I can quit the group, I can quit the unit. It's all this withdrawal. Are there any other choices now that you're thinking about it that you have? Because you made some choices there with the guy, the exterminator.
Mm.
You chose to tell yourself you were safe, you were okay, and you proceeded to pray. And you chose to stay in the embrace.
Right. I mean, I guess we could talk about it in a group, but I wouldn't want to because I think it will mess up the
No,
dynamics
right,
more.
right.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not,
I don't.
so one option could be to talk about it in the group, right? That would be what would the it be? What would you be talking about?
Oh no, no, I'm not talking about the crying. I was just talking about the situation between Alfredo and
Yeah,
about not receiving feedback. Because this is about receiving feedback. If you
right.
receive, like, I mean, I used to be at that point. Yeah, all you want to hear is good stuff. It's okay to hear good stuff, but we need to know where we need to be stretched, where we need to grow, and where we need to. I don't like hearing those things all the time either, but I need to hear them. I don't like hearing them from church members, but they can say something and I'll be like, doggone it. And then I'm thinking about it. Yep, they were right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, it's not always good to hear. It's painful. Because one woman's like, you always say you. Why come you don't say us when you preach or something? And I was like, because she aggravated me when she said it. She said, you seem like you're a little annoyed. I said, a little bit. I said, you're being a little petty or whatever. And but as I thought about it, when I was going to write my sermon the next Sunday, it was like, and that wasn't now, that was earlier in my preaching. And I was like, she's absolutely right, you know. And so I ended
So
up being
that
able to
that
go ahead. I'm
difficult
sorry.
feedback you were able to use.
Right, right. You know, so
So I hear now another option you've identified, which is the realization that it's group dynamics are being established. The group is still in the forming stage, and you
hmm
realize the critical feedback can be helpful for growth. So it's like, hey,
right.
quit, I can withdraw, I can talk to myself. Lisa, it's hard to hear difficult things, and sometimes you dismiss them,
hmm
but you learn from them later. And I
Right.
can continue to offer my colleague good feedback, knowing he may or may not be able to receive it in the moment, but maybe it'll help down the road.
Yeah.
I'm gonna um, encourage you, and I'm going to do this. Take a look at the empowerment dynamic triangle and that didactic that we had on that,
Mm-hmm.
and refresh myself on how one moves in that triangle
Mm-hmm.
from any position they're in that they don't want, from the what we could call the drama triangle to the empowerment. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
a persecutor by virtue of what was said and done, not, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not the role I want to be in. I want to be person who empowers, like a coach. How do I get from there into the empowerment? So I'm going to revisit that because I think you've named that dynamic well. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's, so that's the drama that happened in that moment. How do I get to a place where of empowerment? And so I think that's what another option,
Mm-hmm.
another option. In the scenario with the exterminator, you went into the mode of pastoral care and you prayed, and that was an empowering place to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage you to find where you can shift in the group dynamic out of the drama into an empowerment place. Your contributions matter. We are fine tuning one another. We are all growing and learning. I'm learning right now as you're helping me talk through this dynamic, as we're helping each other
Mm-hmm.
understand what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it, I hope it's helpful to hear your reactions as you describe them are all versions of withdrawing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're not maybe, it might be helpful to consider other options that you have at your disposal now that
Right.
when we are younger or in places where we have no power or very limited power, withdrawal may be the very first helpful response. Flight may be the first helpful response. Now, when I get to think about it, what might something else do? So, fight, you being petty. And then later, you thought about it, you're like, oh, she's absolutely right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm glad you're talking about it now, because even bringing it up is a reflection to me of you shifting to empowerment. You're doing the work that we have to do to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to affirm that as well. And I hope you can hear the stretch, because you could have just
Yeah.
ignored the whole thing. And you could do what you just said. You could have just co-signed on everything else for the rest of the group and sailed on out. But that wouldn't be authentic to what you're doing, the investment of your time and your energy and the growing of your skills. And that's what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So bravo to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can't wait to go back and read and learn from that myself. Like, yeah, because that's what you're switching to. And it's
Okay.
powerful as we look at the group forming together as a group, all of us, when we're able to name, oh, there's a little rescuing going on here. That's about them, but it has implications for our group. And maybe we'll reach a point where it can be named. Obviously, right now, like you said, it's not like the exterminator you've known for 2 years. We all knew to one another.
Yeah.
So we're still
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure it out. But that's like for the BDTI, that's a important dynamic you have observed.
Okay.
And there may be some more storming
Right.
in our group before we get to the performing. And that's okay too. Thank
Yeah.
you for observing it and bringing it up.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Where are you right now? How are you feeling right now?
Well, I feel that you're not judging me for the whole situation, what I just talked about. Um, I feel like I've been heard, um, and being able to talk about it, I guess it helps me look at it in a different way as well, because even though I felt what I felt from them, I know some other things were happening within myself, and I'm not saying I'm too sensitive. I can be, but um, instead of walking away like I probably would have done, but I'm resilient, so I'm gonna keep pushing forward. But I'm gonna try to check myself more. Um, my own countertransference or whatever that was, it was something going on in there, and I'm not saying it was them. I mean, I gotta look at my own self too, so I want to try to be able to do that more. Look at my own self and see what's going on with me, because there's a lot.
That's
I'm a lot.
self-awareness.
I'm be honest with you. It's true.
And self-awareness is another skill, it's another outcome. And you're demonstrating that as well.
Yeah.
May
And I
I?
got to get, go ahead.
No, you got to get what?
I got to get a group time to work. I just want it to be like the other groups, and that's not how it is. I got to realize that this is a new group, new people, and they're all good people. We all are good people, and we just, we got to find our way through. And I think in the end it's gonna be okay. I just had to be able to talk it through with somebody, get it off my mind and talk it through.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, the very thing you are inviting in your workshop others to do, you just did it. Um, you just did it.
Yeah.
I do want to encourage you that too sensitive is descriptive. Obviously, you identify that as a part of who you are. I wonder if you have to say the two and you can just embrace, I'm sensitive. And that's helpful. It's a discerning, it brings awareness. You perceive things that folk who are not sensitive may never even pick up on. Like you were
Mhm.
sensitive enough to realize, okay, I asked my question. I let you know you didn't answer it. I'm going to stop here because this is all you can take right now, Alfredo. You were sensitive to that. So I don't know if you have to say two, which brings a kind of shame to it. It's one of your superpowers.
That's good to hear, because my mom used to tell me, you're just too sensitive. I was like, but when people are making, if your own parent is making fun of you and stuff, that's not being too sensitive, I think. Anyway, but that's where that comes.
Right,
That's where
right,
that
right.
comes from. We're not going back and doing therapy, but that's where that comes from.
Okay. So that's great. So how does it hear to just claim your superpower of being a sensitive person?
I never heard that before, and it's kind of good to hear. I've never heard that in my life.
I think I'd like that chaplain in my room. I'm about to go into surgery. I want the sensitive chaplain, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I affirm that you said you're resilient. And I want to affirm you went from one choice to multiple choices, including affirming your own resiliency, including looking at group dynamics and going, hey, including looking at that interaction and going, ooh, triangle going on there,
Mhm.
including realizing, okay, what was said did come directly to me by the rescuer, who in that moment, in my assessment, was the persecutor,
Mm,
and persecuted you while rescuing Alfredo.
right.
That does not feel good.
No, no.
And
But
even, yeah, even be able to hear that kind of like, oh,
yeah, I thought I was like, maybe I was reading too much into it, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about that or whatever. But yeah.
no, it was on your face. You coming for me? And you shut down and you put your hand up and you were gone. You're like, "You coming for me."
It don't take much for me. I'll check out in a minute. I got to do better than that though. But yeah, I guess it's just some of the groups that I'm in right now.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
And I hear your assessment as well, saying, hey, the last group, we were on such a high, such a flow, and so well performing. And now we got a new group and crying men, and it ain't the same. And I hear you saying that too. You're normalizing your grief. You're
Mhm.
normalizing. And it's important to say, hey, I'm grieving what I had. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
this is all good work. And when you hear, oh, you trying to persecute me, that's not an option. Like I said, I have to go back and look at that triangle and remember how we get from drama to empowerment. Because you like, hmm. And your ability to perceive, hey, the triangle was like this here, and it was like this over here. Lisa, these are tools. These are skills. This is the stuff you need as a, as a chaplain, as a
Mhm.
pastoral caregiver. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're
I
working
think
with
these
a lot.
it is, and these books that you have recommended, especially the other one, the Creating a Healthier Church,
Yes.
that one's definitely a powerful book. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely helpful, for my own role. And now I can sit back and look and see, um, you know, where I have maybe been the toxic church and been the good, the church that was doing well.
Mm-hmm.
My role in it.
Right. That's
Hmm.
awesome. That's the work. That's the work we're doing.
Yeah.
That's the clinical method of learning. And even you're unpacking that whole dynamic in group. That's that clinical method of learning. You are doing it. And I'm glad that you're going to continue. That's the praxis you've selected now,
Hmm.
as opposed to withdrawing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it.
grateful. Yeah. All right. Well, we've reached the end of our time. I am
Hmm.
gonna um send you a few notes on your weekly reflection as you take on this new format of BDTIL.
Yeah. Okay.
Just do
Yeah.
that, make you aware,
Yeah.
and start out by saying it's very hard to do.
Yeah, because I didn't understand. I was just trying to
And
research and
so
do it the
we're
best
gonna,
way I can.
yep, we're gonna bite it off a little bit at a time. So I'm probably gonna
Okay.
just focus on one thing and we go from there. I have to
Okay.
use BDTIL for everything.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So I too am learning it, and it's helpful for me to read yours, and so good job with it. I read it. I thought it was very good. I was like, wow, I wasn't this good when I first started. So I'm gonna give you some feedback, and we'll just keep going from there. This is great
Okay.
advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate all
You
your help.
rock, Lisa. You rock.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You
I
are
appreciate it.
welcome. Have an awesome